Hello friends, in the last session we have started our discussion on the Docker data containers. So let us continue the same here in this session and let us understand the data containers by creating the data container for MySQL database data. So friends, let us begin this session by running the MySQL Docker container. So let us go to the putty command line terminal and let us execute a docker run command for MySQL database. So docker run and then -- name for container name. So let us give the container name as MySQL container. And now the -v option for specifying the volume. And then the path of the volume directory in the host machine. So let us give the host machine's volume directory path as /volumes MySQL and then data. And then colon. And now the volume directory path of the container, and so let us give the container's volume directory path as /var lib mysql. And friends, the reason why we are giving the container's directory path as var lib mysql is because the MySQL server by default stores all its data in this location. So with this friends, whatever table or database which we are going to create inside the MySQL container will get saved inside the host machine's volume directory. And now friends, let us put the -p option for the host port to container port mapping. So let us give the ports as 3306:3306. And friends, the reason why we are giving the port as 3306 is because the MySQL server by default runs on port 3306. And now let us give some environment variables which is related to the username and password for the MySQL Docker data container installation. So friends, in one of our previous session we saw that we can specify the environment variable using env instruction inside the Docker file. Now friends, to specify the environment variable inside the docker run command, we need to use the -e option. So for defining the username environment variable, it will be like -e. And then the name of the variable, which is MySQL_user in case of MySQL container, and then the value of the variable. So here in the value we can give any value of our choice, but we need to remember this value as this will be needed later for logging into the MySQL database server. So let us give the username as myuser. Now friends, in a similar way, let us give the password for this username. So -e. And then the MySQL_password is the variable name for password environment variable. And then now let us give the password value as mypassword. And now friends, let us also define one more environment variable which is related to the root user password. So -e. And then the variable key which is MySQL_root_password. And here let us give the root user password as root password. And now friends, let us also specify the -d option for running this MySQL container as a background process. And then finally we need to specify the image name which is MySQL in our case. Now friends, most of you must be thinking that from where it is known that MySQL_user is the key name for username environment variable and MySQL_password is the key name for password environment variable. So friends, the answer to this question is that all this information are well documented on the Docker website. That is, if you will go to the MySQL official Docker repository page, then anyone can very easily find all this information over there. So let us see the same friends. So let us go to the browser. And here let us go to the hub.docker.com. And then now let us search the MySQL repository in this search box. And then here let us click on this official MySQL repository page. And now friends, if we will come little down, then we will find all the information related to how we can use this image. And then if we will scroll more down, then we will see the environment variable section where we can find all the environment variables which can be defined for this image. For example, this is the MySQL_root password which we used in our docker run command. Similarly, here we have MySQL_user and MySQL_password which we used in our docker run command to start the MySQL Docker container. So now friends, let us go back to the command line terminal. And here we can see friends that the command to execute the MySQL Docker container with the specified volume directory is ready now for execution. But before running this command, friends, let us see the content of the specified host machine's volume directory. So let us go to the WinSCP client, and here let us go to the /volumes and then MySQL and then the data directory. And here we can see, friends, that the data directory inside the host machine is empty right now. So now, friends, let us execute our command to run the MySQL container. So let us go to the putty command line terminal again. And here, friends, let us do one more thing before executing this command. Let us put sudo in the beginning of this command. So sudo, and friends, the reason why we are giving sudo in the beginning of this command is to give the Docker the super user privileges so that we will not get any access related errors when we will execute this command. So now, friends, let us press enter to execute this command. So friends, with this the MySQL Docker container got started successfully, and so now let us verify the same by executing the docker ps command. And now, friends, we got this error related to permission issues. So let us do one thing. Let us first execute the sudo su command to get the super user privileges. And now, friends, let us again execute the docker ps command. And here, friends, we can see the entry corresponding to the MySQL container which we started few moments back. And so now, friends, let us again check the host machine's volume directory, that whether it is still empty or it got filled with some data. So let us go to the WinSCP client again. And now here, let us refresh this window by pressing the refresh button over here. And here we can see, friends, that as soon as the MySQL container got started, we got the MySQL container data inside the host machine's volume directory. So now, friends, as the MySQL container is up and running, so let us connect the MySQL server with the MySQL client so that we can create the databases and tables inside the MySQL server. So let us go to the putty command line terminal again. And now here, friends, to connect to the MySQL server through MySQL client, first we need to install the MySQL client on this host machine. So friends, as we are using the Ubuntu machine, so let us first update the packages inside this machine. So the command to update the package is apt-get update. And now, friends, as the software updates are done, so now let us execute the command for installing the MySQL client. So the command to install the MySQL client on the Ubuntu operating system is apt-get and then install and then -y option and then the package name, which is MySQL-client. And now let us press enter to execute this command. And here we can see, friends, that the MySQL client installation is done successfully. Basically, friends, MySQL client is already installed on this machine, and so this command just gave us the message that the MySQL client is already running the newest version on this machine. Now, friends, if the MySQL client would have not been installed on this machine, then this command would have installed the MySQL client on this machine. So now, friends, let us connect to the MySQL server which is running inside the MySQL Docker container. So let us write the MySQL client command now to connect to the MySQL server. So MySQL and then the -- protocol option whose value equal to TCP, as we are running the MySQL server inside the Docker container. And friends, the value which is to be specified for this protocol option can be seen using the docker ps command. And now let us specify the -h option whose value should be the IP address of the machine where the MySQL server is running. So in our case, the MySQL server is running as Docker container on the same host machine as the MySQL client. So we can give the localhost or 127.0.0.1 as a value to this -h option here. So let us give the value as localhost to this -h option. But friends, if suppose the MySQL server would have been running on some different machine, then here instead of localhost, we would have given the server machine's IP address. And now, friends, let us give the -p option. P is in the capital case here, and this is the option for specifying the port number of the server to connect. And so, friends, the value for the server machine's port is 3306 in our case. And now the -u option. for specifying the username. So let us log in with the root user. And then the -p option, p in small case here. And this option is needed to specify the password for the root user. So let us give the value to this -p option as root password. As friends, root password is the value which we specified in the docker run command for the MySQL root password environment variable. And friends, with this, the MySQL client command to connect to the MySQL server is ready now. So let us press enter here to execute this command. And here we can see that we are successfully connected to the MySQL server from the host machine using the MySQL client. So now friends, let us create one new database, and the MySQL query for creating the new database is create database and then the database name. So create database, and then let us give the database name as test_database. And friends, with this, our database with name test_database got created successfully inside the MySQL server. So now let us verify the same by executing the MySQL query, which displays all the existing databases inside the MySQL server. So the MySQL query to see all the databases is show databases. So now let us press enter to execute this query. And here we can see friends that our newly created test_database is present here, along with some other databases like information_schema, which comes by default with the MySQL installation. Now friends, as the database is ready, so let us create one table inside this database. And friends, for creating the table inside the database, first we need to switch to our database and the MySQL query to switch to a specific databases. Use and then the database name, which is test_database in our case. And here we can see friends, the output of this query is displaying the message as database changed, which means that now we are inside the test_database. So now friends, let us create a table with name person inside the test_database. So the MySQL query for creating the table with name person will look like create table and then the table name, which is person in our case, and then the round bracket, and then we have the column names which we want in our table. So the first column name is person ID, and the data type of this column is int, which means that person ID column will accept only integers. And then we have the person name as the second column, whose data type is varchar, which means it can accept any characters as the value. And then we specified 50 as its size, which means that person name cannot be specified for more than 50 characters. And then friends, the third column which we defined is the person city, and again its data type is varchar and the size is 30. So friends, by definition here in the MySQL, the varchar type means the variable length string. So friends, with this the MySQL create table query is ready. So now let us press enter to execute this query. And here we can see the output as query OK, which means that the table is created successfully. So let us verify the same by executing the show tables MySQL query. So show tables, and here we can see friends the person table. Now friends, as the person table is ready, so now let us insert some data inside this person table. So let us run the insert MySQL query to put some data inside this person table. So friends, the MySQL query to insert the data inside the table looks like insert into table name, which is person in our case, and then the column names, which is person ID, person name and person city in our case. And then we need to specify the values to these columns, which we have specified as 1 to the person ID, ND as person name, and Seattle as city. So now friends, let me press enter to execute this command. And friends, with this one data row got inserted inside the person table successfully. So now let us execute two more insert queries to insert two more records inside the person table. So this time friends, we have given the person ID as 2, person name as John, and the person city as Berlin. And again friends, in the third query we are giving the person ID as 3, person name as Priya and person city as Delhi. So with this friends, the 3 data row got inserted inside the person table. So now let us execute one more MySQL query, which is commit MySQL query. And friends, this commit query is needed to be executed after every insert or delete from the table inside the MySQL, so that the changes are done permanently. And now friends, let us verify the presence of the data inside the person table by executing the select MySQL query. So MySQL query to see all the data inside the table looks like select star from table name, which is person in our case. And now let us press enter to execute this command. And here we can see friends the 3 row which we inserted in the MySQL table using the insert MySQL query. So friends, with this, here in this session we have created the MySQL container with its volume directory inside the host machine and the containers machine. Then friends, we installed the MySQL client on the Ubuntu host machine, and then we connected the MySQL server with the MySQL client, after which we created the database with name test_database inside the MySQL server, and then we created the table with name person inside the test_database, and then we inserted 3 rows inside this person table using the insert MySQL query, and then finally we saw the MySQL query to see all the records inside the table. So friends, with this now let us stop this session here and let us continue this demo on Docker data containers in the next session. So see you in the next session. Till then, take care, tata, bye bye.